Alex, perhaps we should talk about the El Paso shooting and maybe the Ohio shooting as well.
Yes, I think we've waited long enough. I'm glad that we didn't immediately do it the day after. It's just too soon. After over 20, at the time of this recording, over 29 lives have been needlessly cut silent.
And on both, I might add, on both shootings, we're still gathering information and intelligence. Journalists are still probing and looking into it. There are the major news networks already decided who's responsible. It's Trump's fault. It's the NRA's fault. It's the white supremacist fault. That's already been decided by the screaming press. But we're going to wait until we get more data.
For at least for the El Paso shooting, for the Ohio shooting, the motives are unknown. The shooter is dead.
Right.
But for the El Paso shooting, we know 20 people have been killed. I believe at a Walmart. He just mowed down people. So
he allegedly published a manifesto, which is allegedly a white supremacist. The manifesto, if that is the real manifesto, it is a white supremacist manifesto. I mean, the language is very clear. What we don't know is how this person was deployed, why he was there. My theory, it's a very controversial theory, but I'm going to put it out there for you. Maybe I'm right and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm confident that I'm onto something here.
Let's hear it.
And the thing that put me onto it was the fact that Antifa last week, Antifa being the violent left-wing fascist organization, they put out a pamphlet, a flyer. And I'm going to put it up on the screen here if I can possibly do the share screen.
This is like the fifth or sixth take for those who don't know.
This is the fifth or sixth time that we're doing this, right? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Oh, good job. You did it first time. Yeah.
All right. So this is from the official Antifa headquarters. This is HQ Antifa.
Okay. What is that, the Twitter account name? HQ Antifa?
What's that?
That's the name of the Twitter, because there's multiple. There's no big overarching Antifa group. It's just
they put this out. It's called borderresistance.com. That's only one of their sites for donating and registering. So that they have many. This is from, if you read the flyer, it says register, donate at borderresistance.com. Okay. So last week before the shooting, before the murdering of all these people, Antifa put out a call to action on the internet, September 1 through the 10th, El Paso, Texas, border resistance convergence. We're coming. Abolish ICE. Shut it down. There's the fist of the Communist Party right there.
And then there's a heart for some reason. I don't know. Does that symbolize their love and their nonviolence?
That's to soften the fist.
Like as they punch they're punching your heart.
Right. So I'm going to stop sharing on that. I'm going to stop.
Okay.
Anyway, so what put me onto this theory that I have is that I'm familiar with insurgent movements. I have conducted a few nonviolent insurgent movements. So I know the playbook that you go through. And the first thing you do is you gather intel as to how your opposition, how your opponents, and how your enemies are going to respond if you do X or Y or Z.
Okay.
Now, in a nonviolent world, let's say we're going to do a march around the campus. Well, you have somebody talk to the police chief, and you find out what the police reaction would be. My theory is that this shooter is not a white supremacist at all. That he is a stalking horse. He's an advanced intel patsy for Antifa, and he was sent there to do two things. First of all, publish on the internet his manifesto, which purports to be a white supremacist ranting and raving against Mexicans and people, black people, brown people. Put that out there, then scrub it so that it looks like he's trying to deny it, and then go in and just open fire with his weapons and kill as many people as he can. And then he just calmly and peacefully gives up with no incident whatsoever, and he's taken into custody. Right? So why would Antifa do this? Here's the reason. They are looking to see how the El Paso police deploy and how they respond to actual physical violence, because their target, September 1 through the 10th, they're ready to make their next move, their next jump. No more throwing cement milkshakes at at gay conservative journalists like Andy Nog. No more of that stuff. No more beating with baseball bats. No more beating with bike locks. Violent groups have to escalate. That's the reason they're violent, is they must escalate. And they keep their children, they keep trying to find out what they can get away with. Just like a little child will punch his father or mother to see how much of this will the mother or father allow me to do.
I'll give you a little bit of pushback here. There's a couple things that I find a little weird about your theory. First of all, why a Walmart? I mean, why not,
because there are plenty of middle-class white people there buying shit at sale.
Well, I mean, let's say that he was a white supremacist. Why not go to like a detention center and say pretend to be shooting at the people being detained, but be shooting at the guards? Because if your theory really is to test police reaction, then being that Antifa, their plan of attack will be something around, I would assume, something around the border, border patrol, then that would be where they want to gather their intel. Why would they want to gather intel on a Walmart?
You would make a terrible guerrilla warrior. You're terrible.
Because I question my general when he says he wants to attack Walmart rather than the actual enemy.
You don't do the decoy attack at the place you're really going to attack. How stupid could that possibly be?
There are several border places. I mean, if the whole point is to test...
But this is El Paso. There is one border checkpoint at El Paso.
But why not a police station? Or, there's so many different places.
Because
why a Walmart?
For several reasons. They want to kill innocent people. They want to kill children. They want to kill women. They want to kill anybody who's an ordinary American citizen shopping at Walmart. How American is that? Walmart is the American shopping place. All right, it's a soft target. You don't attack a police station, you're going to get your ass kicked. All right, you don't attack the border because that's your real target. You don't ever attack your real target with a decoy. This is to divert the attention of police to see how they deploy from an actual incident. So what they're going to do on September 1 is they're probably going to be very peaceful September 1, September 2, September 3, September 5 or so. They're going to stage another shooting at another Walmart kind of facility, maybe a Chick-fil-A, maybe a burger joint somewhere, another soft target where people are not going to be armed, not going to be dangerous. No one's going to shoot back at them. It's going to take police reaction. And meanwhile, they're going to stage a massive violent attack on the border security at El Paso.
Okay, here's another big problem I have with your theory is that this guy, look, whatever you post on the internet stays on the internet. He would have to be consistently posting white supremacist stuff for a long, long time. I'm not going to buy the fact he converted to Antifa, somewhere down the road. But
no, he was always in Antifa.
Okay, that should be
always Antifa. Follow my theory. My theory is always Antifa.
That should be very verifiable, though. That should be very verifiable. Absolutely.
If you're good at deception, it's not verifiable.
Why on the earth would Antifa? What on earth is Antifa good at? They're horrible at. They're not very efficient, in case you didn't realize it. Antifa's not.
Efficient. They've gotten away with acts of violence. No one has been sent to jail. No one in
People
Portland
do get sent to jail. They do. They get arrested.
No one in Portland has been arrested for Andy Nog's attack. No one.
They actually did. There are mugshots. Yes, there are. Been arrested. People have been arrested in Portland. Yes, they have.
No, they have.
Yes, they have.
Not for Andy Nog. Not for Andy Nog. For other minor violations, but not for Andy Nog.
Okay, yes, they have. You can look it up yourself, my dear friend.
Not for Andy Nog. No, they haven't.
But even if that is the case, that one place in Portland, I still don't. Antifa is not a really well-drilled fighting force. And look, I wouldn't even say the Proud Boys are a fighting force, but I would say the Proud Boys have a little bit more street discipline than Antifa. Antifa is a bunch of wimpy college socialists who barely see the light of day outside because they're in their mother's basement. They're not exactly a fighting force. Yes, they have tried to have access to weaponry, to serious weaponry, and that is super concerning. This is not the first time. This allegedly has to do with Antifa. They have had incidences where Antifa has tried to use weapons, actual warfare weapons, not just baseball bats or bite Glocks, but actual weapons for killing people. Thankfully, they've been apprehended before they were able to actually use them. It just seems so easy for this theory to unravel, because this guy, you would have to be planning this for a long, long time. And be consistent online.
How do you know he wasn't planning this for a long, long time? How do you know this?
Oh, just for a moment, he was like, you know what, man? I've been a white supremacist my whole life. So
you just take everything you read and hear on the internet, and you just believe it.
Well, I don't pontificate and make things out of thin air. Do you have one shred of evidence for your theory? One shred.
Yeah, I do. I have the flyer from Antifa. They have decided to attack El Paso.
Oh, please. That's not you have not even proved how they are connected.
Maybe I'm wrong.
There we go. That's more like it.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. Okay. But you know what? I may be wrong, but I doubt it.
And why, pray tell, do you doubt it? Because Antifa was doing something nearby where another guy of the complete opposite ideology, or at least similar ideology, but different ideology, was doing something bad. I mean, it's just such a thin piece of evidence.
See, you weren't alive when the Weathermen were opposing and organizing against the Vietnam War. I was, all right? And I went through the Weathermen. This is during the late 60s, early 70s. And the Weathermen were very much like Antifa. They were street thugs. They were controlled by intellectuals, academics.
The people that say where storms are and where lightning might occur.
No.
What do you mean, weathermen?
They call themselves the Weathermen. I have no idea why they call themselves the Weathermen. But anyway, they were the leading forces behind. What they would do is they would poach on a legitimate anti-Vietnam War protest, which I participated in many anti-war protests, especially the one in Washington, D.C. outside the Justice Department.
Okay.
And the Weathermen would come along and they would start, and they carried little metal hammers. They would start breaking windows. They would start breaking parking meters. They would start attacking police with clubs and with hammers. They would throw Molotov cocktails. And this is in the middle of a well-organized, peaceful campaign. We were brought to Washington promising a peaceful campaign. But when we got there, we were infiltrated by the Weathermen. The Antifa is a very, very similar organization. They're thugs. But they're controlled by people with money because they're organized. They can deploy quickly. They're violent. And they have co-opted the police force of the United States into allowing them to attack people with masks on.
Of major metropolitan areas, I'd like to point out. Not every police force is complicit, but many, unfortunately, are. Like in Berkeley and Portland and a few other places.
Every major metropolitan city will allow Antifa to do their stuff.
That is not
metropolitan police force is controlled by liberal Democrats.
That is not true. I will vouch for the D.C. Metro Police.
Name me one.
Oh, my goodness.
Name me one
D.C. Metro Police
can be opposed, or where they have been opposed when they're deployed.
D.C. Metro Police, Milo Yiannopoulos rally a month ago at the Defend Free Speech rally. Antifa showed up, several hundred people on the right, including Milo Yiannopoulos, Laura Loomer, many others showed up. There were plenty of police officers, enough to contain the crowd, enough barricades were set up. No incident happened.
Well, you know what? We're losing time here, and I'm going to cut this short. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right, and I hope I'm dead wrong, because 20 people are dead, and that's in El Paso. I don't know anything about the Ohio thing, so we'll have to cop top of that later. Anyway, we'll see if I'm right or we'll see if I'm wrong. We'll see what happens to Antifa, and we'll see what happens to El Paso on September 1 through September 10th, won't we?
By the way, don't forget, we're invading Area 51. If you guys help us out over Patreon, by giving us about 100, we're gonna need 100 grand from you guys. We're gonna fly out to the Nevada area to help storm Area 51. So donations are inbound. Thank you very much for all who already have contributed. Much obliged.
Yep, and thank you for sharing us and following us and sponsoring us. We really appreciate it. Tell us what you disagree with and what you want us to talk about, and we'll be there for you. Cheers. Bye, Alex.
Sound like their mother.